So there's no such thing as sleeping in when you're at Train Mountain.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, adrenaline had us out there
Mhm.
early Sunday. Monday was the same thing, and
Mhm.
we left after sunset on Sunday. We're back out there early Monday, which it is kind of cool to see the yard and the steaming bays like kind of come to life as people show up and that energy picks up and gets going. But we hopped on the train early.
Yep.
So we had run before. We had run kind of what I'm going to call the bottom half of the bottom of the hill there, kind of South Meadow and Rio Grande. And so this time we hop on Little Irma. I think you're running it pretty much the whole time because I'm sitting there taking video or taking video from the back.
Yep.
As you guys will see if you watch our channel. And we head out to the far end of the railroad and we go through M&M, Farmer Circle, and we turn around at Whitcomb and get to see the aspens and everything as we come back. So we were anxious for you to get to see it because it's so scenic, but it was a chance for us to see that part of the railroad. So as engineer, what'd you think?
Well, we still had one more seat if you wanted to go to Aspen.
I know, but I had my social time. I know you guys were excited to get your first run in. I knew I was going to get plenty of seat time, but I wanted to make the rounds and really meet people and see who was there and get in on that energy that morning.
No, to talk about the run though, I was excited. You know, the night before we did Klamath and Western a little bit, South Meadow, Rio Grande. I was just ready to take it up a notch and go underneath the highway. I think it's South Chiloquin Road was where the south end becomes the north end of the Train Mountain on the way towards the north end at Hope Circle. That's what it was. We didn't get quite that far, like you said. We turned around at Whitcomb at the junction there, went through M&M, went through a beautiful Aspen Grove loop. It's one thing when you see certain videos and pictures of the railroad, but once you see it for yourself, it's just a whole different experience. Just going through that grove of beautiful aspen trees right in the middle of June. Yeah, because we had watched the older Train Mountain DVDs that Seven Idea and some of the other guys have done before, and just seeing it like that was just really, and experiencing it firsthand, running it as like in person was just a whole different experience. And kind of like what you were saying earlier too about the grades, just, you know, if we're going to go uphill or if we're going to descend, if we're going to go around some sharp curves, there were some sharper curves I noticed going around Aspen Grove loop. Also just knowing where sidings were and just kind of make mental notes along the way.
Yeah, it was anxious. I loved being out on the railroad, so it was so cool just to get out and kind of see different parts of the track. But we get back, we quick grab a bite to eat together, which the food there was awesome. So many good food options.
A lot of
the
food trucks there.
Between riding on trains and not actually walking and then eating the food, it's tough not to gain weight out there. But we eat, and then we did volunteer shifts that day. So mine was probably the most boring. I was doing parking, which was very straightforward, and it was late enough in the afternoon that it wasn't all that busy. Probably the coolest thing was there were a couple spots there down in South Meadow where you got to see some of the steam engines and stuff that would run that loop come by. But so I did parking for a couple hours.
I did registration check-in where people were coming in for the first time, needing to get their paperwork and their badges and everything. Some had prepaid, some hadn't. So we were collecting money. But the coolest thing was the very first truck that I got to go check in when I was done with my training was a group of 4 guys from Germany. Wow. And they were so excited to be there. And it was just so neat to, again, another big realization that, you know, this isn't just our little runs in Nebraska anymore. This is international. Yeah. And for people to travel that far and be so excited, it was a neat experience. I met a lot of different people, and but yeah, I'll never forget checking in the Germany guys. That was fun.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
And you were having all sorts of fun.
Yeah,
you shouldn't get volunteer credit for getting to have fun on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had a pretty cool volunteer shift. No, I feel like it was more than an honor than anything, but I got to do a shuttle service, and which was just really, really cool. And not only that, but also just to get to experience someone else's locomotive. And what made this one really special to personally is I got to be at the throttle of Quentin Breen, the late founder of Train Mountain Railroad, on one of his locomotives, his Northern Pacific RS3. I've seen a lot of video and pictures of that over the years. At the very first triennial, all the way back in 2000, he ran that engine in the parade, and just to be at the throttle of that engine, I just kind of felt like was an honor more than anything. The only real downside was it felt like a roller coaster because that engine had no brakes, and there was some times I had to really watch my speed and going down the hills of Klamath and Western on that route. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun.
I
Yeah.
remember, was it just a few weeks before we went that we signed up for our volunteer jobs, and I heard Sean signed up to be, shuttle, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, golf carts, or a bus,
Yeah.
or vans or something, and then we get there, and I'm like, what? You
Yeah.
get to shuttle with Quentin's steamer,
Diesel.
or diesels,
yeah.
but yeah,
It'd be cool if you had a
Quentin's train.
steamer.
Well, we finished volunteer hours, which were out in the sun, try to cool off, but we get right into the kind of the highlight of the day, and that's steaming up. And so we typically take our time. It's about an hour or so steaming up. First time there takes a little bit longer, making sure everything works. We're getting air brakes hooked up, making sure that everything traveled well and is ready to go. And before you know it, I mean, we're underway with our own steam engine heading out on the rails at Train Mountain, which is pretty awesome. So my thought on this as we studied the tracks and everything was to try and always start on Klamath and Western as much as possible because it worked as a good kind of shakedown route. You can do the loop. It's a shorter track, but it gives you a feel for everything you're going to experience out on the main track as far as, the different grades and whatnot. But also if something goes wrong, you have a chance to jump back at Grand Junction and loop back into the yard if you have something go wrong. So we get on Klamath and Western, make a run. Then we swap engineers. You make a run.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: it went by in a flash for me because even though we ran it on the diesel, all of a sudden you're behind steam and you've got everything that's going on as we know with running steam. But we did have a troublesome gondola on the train that weighed us down, and we didn't figure that out until a couple days later. So we had a problem with one of the grades.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Klamath and Western, to me, it was a ton of fun. But any initial thoughts right off the bat running steam?
Yeah, kind of like, how I talked about the nerves a little bit again. I mean, we were already on familiar trackage, but now that we're behind a 12-foot long steam locomotive and a lot more weight to it and, brakes and the troublesome gondola that we had. No, I will admit I was glad that you did the first run. And no, but yeah, there was on Klamath and Western too. There was actually some places where they had some pretty sharp grades,
Good grades,
and also some sharper curves to go with it too.
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of took some mental notes on the first run you took with the 3126, and okay, should I use brakes here? Should I give it some more throttle here? Let off the throttle, just things you gotta, when you're running steam, it's just one of those things.
Get a feel for it,
and just always got to be thinking a few steps ahead.
Yeah. So we then swap again back at the Klamath station. I take it down the Serpentine, and then we did the Rio Grande and South Meadow just like we did before.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get back in there to Midway Circle, which is where we service the engine. We did a quick hit it with oil, topped off with water, swapped engineers, and you had a chance to run that same route. So I'll let you go first, your impression on those two routes, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah. Rio Grande and South Meadow, those are some pretty fun loops. You're really just exploring a really fun part of the railroad that seems like not too many people like to talk about, but no, there's some good grades going into Rio Grande Loop. There was a really interesting grade that really kind of caught us off guard once we went up it the first time. But no, once we kind of got a feel for it, we started doing it again and again. And okay, this seems a little bit more feasible. And then just going down the grades, and I really enjoyed Rio Grande and South Meadow loops. They're just, once you got used to it a couple of times, they're just really fun loops to run. I just Can't really think of anything else.
They're kind of sneaky good.
Mhm.
They're a lot of fun. Rio Grande, my favorite was after you go over the tunnel, so you can see Lilyville kind of on the left, but
yeah.
you would go and loop out and get kind of in the trees out by that orange caboose and everything.
Yeah.
That was a neat stretch. But South Meadow was one of my favorites, which I didn't expect, because as you came out of Midway, you would kind of weave through the trees, and it was just kind of nice gradual turns through these trees. It's just kind of solitude. You're on your own. And then it felt like you were on a parade route as you go through the campers. And, when we would run in the evenings, everybody's kind of sitting outside having dinner or having a drink.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of just getting to roll through there pretty slow, and everybody's anxious to check out some steam. And so they were both great routes. I had a blast.
Yeah.
That was always fun going through the campgrounds, because people, even the little kids that were out there, they were so excited to see you go by. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we wrapped that up, and we stopped to get water before climbing the Serpentine, which I said in the previous video that we did, I expected this layout to be more intimidating than it turned out to be. The amount of sleep I've lost over the last few years about the Serpentine from hearing people talk is bad, and we've done so many projects geared around that. From updating our injectors, our water glass. We put in a brand new burner in the engine to make sure that we could fire the engine, put water in the boiler, and continue to climb that grade with a full load. And so heading up the Serpentine, it was awesome. I had a blast. The engine performed great. We had a little traffic, so we had to stop on the grade and restart, and the engine just handled it perfectly. And that was one of my instant highlights. Probably the best moment, I'd say, from day one was being able to climb the Serpentine with our steam engine.
You guys were giddy about the Serpentine. I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Oh, that was something else.
Yeah. So we pulled into the yard. I think, it was starting to get pretty dark when we pulled into the yard from our first day. Again, we were burning the candle on both ends, but it was a lot of fun. So, I mean, you were not at the throttle this day, but you were behind the, getting to sit back and take it all in.
It was really fun, because you guys I could tell how much you were concentrating on how the engine's running and what you're all doing. And I'm just like, squirrel, because there's another train to watch, and there goes another one on another track. And it was just fun to see all the other equipment that was out running too. So yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for Monday. We'll be back next week with Tuesday.